friends, thanks for joining me again. And today I have just a really quick, kind of silly video about, this list of things that we've really never spent money on. It's not that any of these things are bad, they're just things that we don't have, any interest in, and so it's just something that we decided to forego. So the first thing is, like, expensive or most cleaning products. A long time ago when I first moved out of my parents' house into a little camping trailer where I lived by myself, my friend's mom actually gave us this bottle of Orange Clean. It was like this concentrated cleaner in a bottle where you add just a little bit of the cleaner and then most of the rest of the way with water, and then you basically clean everything with it. It was like an all-purpose cleaner, and so that was actually pretty nice of her. We used that for a really long time. It lasted me a really long time. And so once that ran out, I still had the extra spray bottle, and I liked the idea of being able to just make something where you pour in a little of this or that, add a bunch of water, and then voila. So that is actually where I started my journey making my own cleaning products, and that's how it's been ever since. So that's actually been, let's see, I first moved out about 15 years ago, and I've never bought any kind of Pledge or Windex or most of these expensive type cleaning products ever since. Instead, I've just been making them on my own, and I've had lots of time to experiment, and try different things to find the recipes that work. So that's number one. Number two would be cable TV. That's, again, something I really didn't want from the get-go, because I knew if we got cable, we would probably find some shows that we liked, and then it would be harder to get rid of. So I just decided, let's just go with no cable whatsoever, find what we could, watch on TV if we want to watch TV, and then just, be happy with what shows we could get there. I know there are probably some shows on cable TV that I would probably like to watch, but if I don't watch them in the first place, I don't have a chance to grow attached to them, therefore it won't be hard to give up. So it was just easier to say no from the beginning and then skip it. So yes, if you want some ideas on my Frugal TV, of course I'll link that. The next one would be new cars or car payments. They're kind of two, but I threw them in the same one. Brand new cars suffer a tremendous amount of depreciation. That basically means they lose their value. And so in my opinion, they're really not a great asset. I would prefer to invest my money in something that is an appreciating asset, meaning it, grows in value. And so even if I had $1 million, I really don't think that I would ever want a brand new car, because I just don't think that they're a good investment. They, again, just suffer too much depreciation. Oftentimes when you put a car payment, the second portion of the, list thing here, the car payment doesn't keep up with the new car's depreciating value. So what you end up with is what's called negative equity. Your car is actually worth less than you owe. You owe more money than the car is worth. So if you were to sell it, you would actually have to pay, more money to get out from under the thing. And that was a scenario that I was worried about. So new cars and car payments are something that I've never wanted, and so I'm really glad that I've steered clear of them. The next would be video games. My husband and I really aren't gamers, and I'm really thankful for that, because I think it can take a lot of time, and that's time I would rather spend on something else. I'm not even sure what is the popular one right now, because again, this is something that doesn't interest us whatsoever. But like the Wii or the Xbox, whatever, I don't even know. Whatever the most popular ones are, we've never bought any of them. We had a tablet for a while, and then we have our smartphone now. And we don't even put games on those. So even though we have access to some even kind of low-level games, we don't even use those. So it just wouldn't make sense to buy some sort of a video game system and then all the expensive games on top of it, when that's just not something that we're interested in. So I know that's also saved us a lot of money as well. The next one would be expensive makeup. I have some fairly nice makeup, but I've always gotten it at cheaper prices, or for the stuff that I'm not able to find at cheaper prices, like say for my discount grocery store, or some really good sales sometimes that the other makeup stores have. I just buy drugstore makeup, and I really don't wear a ton of makeup, so what little makeup I do have lasts a fairly long time, with the exception of the stuff you're supposed to switch out more frequently. So, it just makes sense to me to wear inexpensive makeup if I'm only going to wear it once in a while. So, and yes, I understand it probably shows, but it's good enough for me, so it's fine. The next thing would be expensive clothes. I have never ever gone into, most of the stores that are out there and bought clothes. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with just wearing either just regular big box store clothes, or, thrift store clothes. And I'm careful, of course, I always make sure to wash them before I, wear them. And then when I do buy clothes, brand new, I just buy them either on sale or on clearance again at just some regular stores, Walmart, Target, whatever. And it just works out fine because I don't have a job where I need to have expensive clothes. And then when I do have to wear something nicer for my job or whatever, I just buy like cheaper clothes that kind of look nicer. And then because I don't wear them, they look very new, and so they look nice. So that's how I've avoided getting, brand new clothes. So I've never had a pair of designer jeans or, whatever, any of that stuff. So I know that's also saved us a fair amount of money. The next thing would be dry cleaning. I have never really had any kind of expensive clothes that needed dry cleaning, so we just don't have to do that. So that makes sense there too. The next one would be like just some basic personal maintenance. Stuff like waxing or, getting my nails done or, pedicures or manicures in general, that sort of stuff. Everything like that, I just do myself because it just makes more sense. In my opinion, just to do it myself. I feel more comfortable with that. Plus, it's a whole lot cheaper. So, and then when it comes to the nails themselves, I work really hard with my hands, and so I know for a fact that if I had fake nails or anything like that, they would probably fall off really quickly. And then even when I paint my nails, it seems like it gets chipped and gouged really quickly, and so it's always a waste in the end for me to have to do it, unless it's a special occasion, of course, but for the most part, I just forego it all, still keep clean, of course, I scrub my nails and get the dirt out from under them and keep them trimmed and things like that, but I just don't need, the paint and the fake and all that stuff, in my opinion. It just makes more sense to make it to where, they're easier to take care of. And then the last thing is like the latest and greatest electronic gadgets in general. So this is the first year I've actually had a smartphone, and even then I didn't have to pay for it. My brother gave it to me, and he also is paying the phone bill, and those were all in exchange for babysitting. So I didn't have to pay anything again. I just have to watch his kids in exchange, and then I get the smartphone and, the monthly bill for it for free. So that's nice. Our TV is even kind of old. We don't even have an LED TV. It's kind of the older style one. Even a Blu-ray player, my husband and I don't even own one of those. So just in general electronics, because again, it seems like every time they come out with something, they're coming out with something else not long after. So it just doesn't make sense to me to pay a lot of money to have all these latest and greatest electronics when something is going to be obsolete in not too long anyway. So there is my list of things that we have never spent money on. And again, none of these things are bad, they're just things that we're not interested in. And I know that by not being interested in them, we've saved a lot of money, and probably not even just like hundreds, but probably thousands of dollars every single year by doing all of these things ourselves, or just, in general, not wanting them in the first place. So there's my list. What do you guys think? These are things that you don't spend money on? Would you add to the list, or what do you think that I have on that list that is pretty necessary? Anyway, thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching the video. We'll see you next time. I'm Frugal Green Girl.